Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to my Tempoross First Impressions video and guide. The Tempoross is a new skilling boss that has been added to old school RuneScape for fishing. In this video, I'm going to open up by going through the mechanics on how the Tempoross works, but since the boss is still new in the game, we not only might learn more about the boss in the upcoming weeks, but there's also a good chance that some tweaks could be made to the boss from the developer side of things. So for those reasons, I might make a more official guide for Tempoross in the future, but for now, we've got the first impressions and an overall view of how the boss works and how to kill it. The docks that'll take you to the Tempoross are located in the southwestern part of the desert. You can take a small boat from Al Kharid to the Tempoross dock to save you time. I definitely ran there the first time. You don't have to run all the way through the desert. Every item that you need to fight the Tempoross can be obtained during the fight, including a regular harpoon, but here's what I'll be bringing with me. I've got my angler's gear, which I did not take a screenshot of before I upgraded, but obviously you do not need the speared anglers to do this activity. The speared angler's gear is nice though, since it acts as a rope during the fight. I am using an infernal harpoon for better points. You can cook the fish during the fight to get more points out of it, and in other words, get more rewards. So having your harpoon do it for you is pretty nice, but if you're looking for more fishing XP, then a crystal harpoon is the better way to go. And just going down the list for dragon harpoon, barbtail harpoon, and even a regular harpoon is a worthy tool. In my inventory, I have 4 buckets, a hammer, and my humidify runes. When you're just getting started, you do need to take a rope with you. The only reason I'm not bringing one is that angler's gear. It's not a huge deal when your gear takes the rope requirement away, but it is actually pretty convenient. You can take less buckets, especially if you're in a larger team, but I like to bring 4 and keep them filled with my humidify spell. This generally lets me clear out any fire problems. The hammer is also less necessary when you're with more players, since only one player has to fix a totem or mast, but it is helpful to keep one on you. Again, these things can be obtained during the fight. Buckets, rope, hammers, and harpoons are on each boat, and then down on the docks there's another bin full of buckets. Next to each bucket bin is a place that you can fill them if you're not using humidify, but humidify is very convenient, especially if you're trapped somewhere because you let the fires get too strong for you, then at least you have a way to fill up your buckets. The boat at the end of the docks will take you out on a kill. This boat works very similar to pest control, where it's going to send in a team and then start filling up another team, unlike the fishing trawler where you have to wait if it's out on a run. Multiple teams can be out on different runs at a time. To kill the boss is pretty straightforward. The energy, or the light blue bar, is the shield, while the essence, the green bar, is the actual boss's health. That third bar in the bottom is the storm intensity. This is pretty much just a timer. If it hits 100, then you lose. Every time you drain the energy or the shield down to 0%, the storm intensity does reset. To knock out that shield and be able to do damage to the boss, you have to fire harpoon fish from the cannons of either of the ships. So when the match starts, you run out to the island, start fishing some harpoon fish spots. Sometimes you'll notice a third harpoon fish spot show up with a leaping harpoon fish coming out of it. Fishing from that spot can occasionally give you double fish, so you always want to fish on those double spots when you get a chance. If you're using an infernal harpoon on the double fish spot, it is possible to catch 2 cooked fish, which is pretty solid. You can cook any of your raw harpoon fish at the shrine on the island. You do not have to cook the harpoon fish, but if you do, it does more damage to the shield, and you get more points when you're loading the cannon. So it's better for points, but if you want extra fishing XP from the grind, and you're not as worried about the loot, you could just continue to fish more, skip the cooking, load the cannons, go fish. You don't have to cook, but it is more helpful for points. Eventually, when you load enough fish to be fired at the Tempoross, the shield will drop to 0, and now you can run up to the end of the dock and fish from the pools around the Tempoross. This is how you actually deal damage to the boss, similar to mining off of Zolcano when the shield goes down. The storm intensity will reset when the shield drops to 0, and the shield percentage will slowly climb back to 100. Once it hits 100%, you have to start the process over. It is possible to KO the boss in one shield drop, but you're better off for rewards by getting multiple shield drops and getting more points per round, so you don't really want to KO it right away. The Tempoross can fight back too. It does have 3 different attacks. One of them is a colossal wave. You're going to be told in the chat that the wave is coming, and the screen will begin to turn blue. You do need to tie yourself down to either one of the masts on the ships or one of the totem poles out on the island. If you get hit by the wave, it's going to knock you back a few spaces, take some of your fish if you have any, and one of your tools like a bucket, a rope, or even your hammer. The totem poles and masts can be damaged too, and that's where you're going to need a hammer to repair them. For the next attack, some clouds will blow into the area and soon shoot some lightning bolts in the ground, starting a few fires. The fires will spread over time if they are not doused with a bucket of water. If you stand in a fire, it will continuously take fish and tools from you, so do not stand in the fire. If there's still fires on the island or the boat when more waves hit, then the waves will put out the fires, which makes a lot of sense, and is something to be aware of if there's a ton of fires everywhere. As long as you make sure you can get to one of the totems, you don't have to put out every fire, but you do get points for putting out fires, so it's not like it's worthless either. The final attack is the torrent attack. Occasionally, the boss will attack one of the cannons, which will stop the cannon from firing for a little bit. Overall, if you get hit by, like if you're standing next to the cannon and the torrent attack hits you, it delays you for like 2 ticks. So it's really not that big of a deal. It can actually be used to your advantage to fill up the cannon that is now unable to fire for a little bit, kind of delaying the shield break and giving you more chance to stack up some harpoon fish and get some more points. You do receive reward points for most of the actions you do in the fight. Fishing harpoon fish, cooking them, loading them into the cannons, fishing from the boss to do damage, even dodging attacks like tying yourself to the mast during a wave or putting out fires is going to give points. These points decide how many reward permits you get at the end, or in other words, how many rewards you can stack up, similar to Winter Todd in many ways. You need to gain at least 2,000 points to get your first reward permit. Every 700 points after that will give you another permit. You do not need to get the full 700 points to get the next permit though. It's every 700 points you're guaranteed to get a next one, but as long as you get any points towards that 700, you have a small chance of rolling it anyways. For example, at 2,005 points, you get that one guaranteed at 2,000, and then because you got a few extra, you have a chance for a second. If you get up to 2,700 points, you're now guaranteed the 2 rewards though. At 2,705, you're still guaranteed those first 2, but you have a possibility for a third. So if you made it all the way to 3,400, you're now guaranteed for that third reward. There's not a limit on how many points that you can get, or at least nobody has hit it yet, as far as I know, but there is a limit on the fight. The fight automatically ends if you don't kill the boss after the 3rd shield break, though there's an interesting strategy that can get you 1 extra shield break, but either way, this does end up limiting the max points you can get. Anywhere from like 3 to 12 permits is possible to get, depending on, I guess, your team size and how organized you guys are. Overall, I have found that these smaller teams tend to do better for reward permits, but not because the larger teams aren't scaled well enough. You just need to make sure you have some sort of good communication with the larger teams. So clearly doing this on the mass world doesn't work so well because it's impossible to get everybody on the same page. But even doing it in the mass world is quick and easy kills, and you can still get some solid permits from it. You can turn in your reward permits for actual rewards just south of the bank at this small pool. You do need a small net, and you can ask this guy for a small net. He's got plenty of them. We don't have any concrete numbers released from Jagex quite yet, but we do have a good idea on the odds of a pretty good chunk of these drops. In terms of uniques, the main thing you'll see are spirit flakes, which apparently are around a 1 in 4 chance to get them. You get anywhere from 32 to 64 flakes at a time, so you can collect spirit flakes pretty well. These are mostly used to turn in for your new angler set, 1,200 spirit flakes per piece. So to turn your full angler set into spirit anglers, you need 4,800 flakes. People can also recolor their heron to a blue heron, but for the actual use of spirit flakes, when you fish with them, just traditional fishing, if you have spirit flakes on you, they do have a 50% chance to catch an extra fish, which is pretty nice. If I had any complaints in any of the rewards off the bat, the fact that you still use a spirit flake if it doesn't catch an extra fish kind of sucks, because it's not like it's that big of a deal catching an extra fish. Anyway, fish are not great for cash in the first place. The soaked pages, somewhere around a 1 in 50, you get anywhere from 5 to 9 of them. Honestly, so far they've seemed a little bit more rare than burnt pages from Winter Todd on my end, but I've only gotten so many kills myself. You've got the fish barrel and the tackle box are both about a 1 in 400. The fish barrel is actually really nice. It's kind of like a looting bag, but for fishing, and you don't have to be in the wilderness for it necessarily. The tackle box is also nice for some bank space. Really, any of the fishing gear, anything that you use to fish can go in there. So your rods, your lobster pots and stuff like that is very nice. If you get duplicates of these, you get 25 soaked pages instead of just getting a second one, which is also a good bonus. Into the more rare things, we have the big harpoon fish and the Tome of Water at a 1 in 1,600 apiece. The Tome of Water is like the water version of the Tome of Fire. A little bit different mechanics than the Tome of Fire. Rather than just having the 50% damage boost, it also increases the accuracy on some water spells. The big harpoon fish is just something that you hang up in your house. I will admit it should be like a wieldable harpoon. I think that would be pretty cool. But either of these are an interesting grab, but overall not anything like overpowered. If you get a duplicate on either the big harpoon fish or the Tome of Water, just like with the tackle box and fish barrel, you instead will just get 25 soaked pages. And for the rarest things, we have the dragon harpoon at apparently a 1 in 8,000, and there is a tiny Tempoross pet that they have not released the odds on. I guess I would be guessing 1 in 3,000, because that seems to be a pretty normal thing, but Who knows? Who knows what they did for the odds in this one? The tiny Tempoross is pretty cool looking. I feel like I enjoy every new pet just because it's a new pet, and I like pets in general, so maybe I'm a little biased on it, and I won't like it as much in a while. But overall, I do like the uniques that you can get from Tempoross. Just the regular loot that you get is mostly fish. There's some planks, which I'll admit for Ironmen is a really good pool of rewards. In general, for normie accounts, you're not going to make that much money just selling stuff off, but overall, fishing's not always been a great moneymaker. In fact, it's one of the worst skilling moneymakers in many cases. So the fact that you get decent rewards out of it and it's good XP, I'll take that. Speaking of XP, since we're on sort of the reward side of things, here are the tables that are currently on the wiki showing how much XP you can get for each harpoon, whether you do or do not cook your fish. These are all pretty solid rates from what I can tell. I've only been doing it on my main, which happens to be at 99 fishing, so I haven't really been able to test the lower level fishing stuff, but generally these numbers are very accurate. And overall, it looks like what they told us we were going to get in terms of fishing XP. It's pretty solid XP. It is possible to get better fishing XP in other places, but overall, this is one of the better fishing methods in the game. And let's be honest, this is one of the more fun fishing methods in the game. That'll kind of take me into my next part. Overall, this has pretty much just been a guide up to here. I've tried to keep most of my just general opinions out of it until now. My first impressions on it, I did bring up some of the reward buffs or nerfs or just changes, I guess I would like. The spirit flakes and maybe the wieldable harpoon fish would be pretty cool. The actual just gameplay overall, I think, is awesome. Compared to the other two skilling bosses, it's similar. If anything, I got it above them because it's new, but compared to traditional fishing, it's got to be 10 times more enjoyable to do this than to just stand around fishing. It gives another option for getting good fishing XP and getting some unique rewards out of it. It also doesn't take over the fishing game. So Winter Todd really took over fire making. Very few people are out there burning redwoods to get better XP than what you would get at Winter Todd. So I like the fact that Tempoross is really good for fishing, but it has not taken over the fishing life. I am a fan of the unique rewards having some interesting mechanics, like the fish barrel being similar to a looting bag for the fish life. The tackle box saving inv space, I think, bank space, I should say. Bank space saving is something that Jack X should be looking into a little more, I feel like, because we always get new items and we never get space to put those new items. The Tome of Water is pretty cool because I think having like a Tome of Earth and a Tome of Air would also be sick, but it's also not that useful, so there's a difference between interesting and helpful when it comes to a new item. But in general, I do like the unique rewards. I like the look of the Spirit Angler's outfit too. And of course, having not only a new pet, but a recoloring option on a different pet gives you more things that you can work on, more goals that you can set. So overall, just adds more gameplay, which I enjoy. It is very possible they'll make some changes to the boss in the next upcoming weeks, though. I feel like they generally nailed it, at least from what they told us we were going to get compared to what we got. Seems pretty spot on, so I don't know how much they will change if they do change anything, but it's very possible that they do. Either way, I'm going to be grinding out for a little bit over the next couple of weeks, try to knock out as many of the uniques that I can. If they do make any changes or if anything big happens in terms of strategy, I'll make a more legit in-depth guide about that in the upcoming weeks. But other than that, that is going to start wrapping up this video, everybody. If you still have any questions about the Tempoross boss or just any comments of your own on it, be sure to leave those in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching this video, everybody. If you enjoyed or just got some useful information, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. I do stream on Twitch, by the way, which is linked in the description and hopefully on the screen. I am also on Twitter and have a Discord, which will also be linked in the description. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and best of luck on your Tempoross grind.